Before I got into franchising, I actually worked for a national charity called NACRO. I was the area manager for Bedfordshire, and we work with disengaged, vulnerable and at-risk young people, providing them education and support, trying to get them into the workplace. And prior to that, I actually worked for the Transport Police in London in their emergency control room, which is a complete departure in terms of moving into this sort of area. In terms of women getting into franchising, I do think you've got to pick the right franchise for you. You may have childcare issues that you need to address. You maybe need to tailor your hours to suit those issues. It's very hard work franchising, especially with a cold start. You've got to have the dedication and the determination, and clearly you've got to find a franchise that moulds that in terms of making sure you can spend the time building up the business, and then obviously in the long term you can reap the rewards. In the early days, I actually managed to let a property sat on a beach in Norfolk. So, there are times that it is a good thing because you can do that. To get into a franchise, my husband was already working within a franchise network, doing something completely different, and the ultimate goal was always that I would get out of employment and into franchising. So we sort of basically spent a long time researching and looking at all sorts of different franchises. Estate agency, travel agency and lettings, and we felt that Belvoir was by far the most prominent and actually best branded that we come across in our search. Franchising is good for women because obviously what you get is the additional support that you wouldn't do if you were an independent letting agent or sales agent, for example. There's always someone there on hand who can help you. And for instance, when I first started out and we had a holiday book, which was a holiday of a lifetime, there was actually somebody on hand that I could divert the calls to who would give me that additional support when I needed it. They're also there if, say for instance, I was ill for a prolonged period of time. I know that central office would be able to step into the breach and give me that additional support whilst I got myself well again. In terms of franchising and women, I think there is definitely a need for more women in franchising, and I do feel a little bit disappointed that there isn't. I think we've got a different swing on things in terms of we can be more empathetic and emotional towards the needs of people who, especially in the lettings industry, maybe it's quite a stressful time for them, they're moving house, and I think we can actually sit down with people and probably take a little bit more notice on what's going on in the bigger picture and support them through that sort of stressful time in moving house. I do feel that there still is a lack of women in business. Before you came today, I actually looked at the number of primary franchise owners within the Belvoir network, and there are only 15%. That's not enough. We need to do something more here. We need to get women to the front, because I've managed to do this and I've worked very, very hard and I've made a success out of it. And I do think women need to realise that they have strengths that possibly some men don't have, and they need to push forward and take the plunge.